Hello YouTube world, Pretend Farmer here. Not a real farmer, just pretending. Pretend Farmer has been watching the weather forecast and they have been increasing the chance of measurable snowfall this weekend. Some reports show up to 8 inches or more. Realistically, we'll probably end up getting about half a foot. But still, it's going to be more than just a little dusting. This is going to actually be our first measurable snowstorm of the year here on the Pretend Farm. Now we're absolutely going to make another follow-up video showing our chickens playing in the snow, or lack thereof, but part of being a farmer is being prepared. So Pretend Farmer thought he'd take just a few moments and explain what we're doing in advance of the snowstorm to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. You take new chickens like Toasty Marshmallow there, who's growing to be quite the handsome boy, but he's never seen a snowstorm before. So especially if you have first-year chickens, or maybe you just only get 1 or 2 snows a year, your chickens never really get used to seeing much snow on the ground. If they're not used to it, they are going to hate it. First of all, since we know the chickens are going to be spending just about all the time in the coop for the first day or so till the snow starts to melt, we need to make sure that we've got fresh bedding in the coop. Normally chickens only go in here to roost and lay eggs. They don't poop a whole lot other than when they sleep. But if the ground is covered in snow and they're actually hanging out in there, they're going to poop a lot in there, and the litter is going to get used up 10 times faster than it normally would. So not only am I going to change it out so that they're starting with fresh bedding, but I'm also going to pile it up more so that the bedding can accommodate more litter. It gives you a little bit more life out of it. If you do the deep litter method, you can go ahead and add a fresh layer to your bedding. Or if you're like us here on the Pretend Farm and you don't mess with deep litter, you can just go ahead and do a complete change out, pile those shavings in fresh, extra deep. They'll be good to go. They can spend a week in there if they need to. Now, if it's going to be really cold, a lot of times I'll switch over to straw instead of the pine shavings, and I'll pile it real deep. And again, this is because we don't use the deep litter method here, and I want to have that nice thick layer of straw insulating the floor. Helps keep some of the cold out, keep the coop a little warmer. In this case, we're not calling for super cold temperatures, not much colder than what they're used to already. It's just going to be the white powdery stuff on the ground that they're going to want to avoid. Now, as far as food, they're not going to be able to get to their food and water like they normally would. We got a couple different options we can do there. I can break my one rule and I can put the food and water in the coop, which ultimately is absolutely going to make a mess. I'd rather not do that. So what Pretend Farmer is going to do in my case is I'm going to try and shovel them a path from the end of their ramp over to their feeder and their waterer. Shovel a little spot around that. That should give them access to the food and water that they need. They can take little stretch breaks, go get a snack, something to drink, go back in the coop, and that'll see them through till the snow melts. Now, if you got a bad back, maybe you're elderly, whatever reason you don't want to pick up a shovel and scoop, that's fine. Especially a bigger snow, it might be kind of hard. Just make them a golden path of straw to give them a little bit of an area. You can throw it right on top of the snow and they will walk on that. It's the snow that the chickens don't like touching their feet. They don't mind the straw, no, not at all. So straw is good. That's really all you need to do differently for chickens when it snows. What's really cool is if you live in a place where you can't normally free range your chickens because you don't want them going over to other properties, now's probably the one time when you can actually get by with it, because you can shovel them some boundaries and they'll stay put. They're not going to venture out too far. So it might be a cool time to go ahead and try it. You know, you can always bait them back in with snacks if they start going too far. If you are going to free range your chickens in the snow, I would recommend sticking around to keep close watch on them. It always seems like predator attacks are worse during times of snow coverage. And I think it's just because food's more scarce, you know. It's not as easy for predators to get around. They're not able to dig and go in holes and stuff like they could without snow. So chickens make easy meals, and they make very tasty meals as well. So be extra mindful. Predators, even if they're confined to your coop, keep extra close tabs to make sure nothing's trying to dig under that fence and get in there. I mean, think about it. You're a hungry fox or a raccoon. What better way to spend a snowstorm than to dig in, get into a nice, dry, warm chicken coop, and have all these chicken nuggets in there at your disposal. It just makes sense. You know, they're going to be on the prowl, and you want to be extra watchful over your feathered friends. Thank you, Miss Molly. While it may be tempting to sit in the house and watch it snow, I would encourage you not to let the eggs pile up. Make sure you get out there at least once a day and pick your eggs, because if you let them sit, the chickens are more likely to get bored and curious, and it's the perfect time for them to develop the bad habit of pecking and eating their own eggs. It's a habit you don't want them to start. Well, that's everything that we're going to do here on the pretend farm for this storm. It's always good to prepare and have a plan before the storm happens. I'd encourage you to come back this weekend. It's going to snow Saturday night, maybe Sunday. By Monday, hopefully we will have some good footage of the chickens and showing off all the things that we just talked about that we've implemented. You'll get to see it put into effect and how it works out. And if the snow is coming to you, do these things and your chickens will be okay, I promise you. Till next time, this is the Pretend Farmer signing out.